just got here at Home Depot. I got in trouble for filming inside, but hey, we're outside here. I'm gonna load it in the car and get this thing home. I wanted to test kind of the sound difference between the two. That's as high as I can get. 86 is what I'm getting here. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike. You're watching Triple T Acres, and it's early October here in Ohio. The temperature is starting to drop. I'm wearing a sweatshirt and I love it, but it's really got me thinking about heating solutions for my barn. I've got a pretty good setup now, but I'm ready to do an upgrade. And in this video, I'm gonna show you what I think is probably the best heater money can buy. It's not the cheapest heater, but if you're somebody who wants to get a high quality, high-end heater that's gonna be great for your shop, this video is for you. Stick around, I'm gonna share it with you. All right guys, check it out. This is my shop. This is a 36 by 40 pole barn. I've got 16-foot walls. Got a nice little overhang porch here. We're already getting ready for a Halloween party coming up this weekend. And I'm gonna have some guests that's gonna wanna stand next to some heat because I think we're gonna have some pretty chilly weather. Let me go inside and show you how insulated my building is and what I do right now for heating. And you can see why I might wanna do a little upgrade. So let's go inside. All right, check it out. Here is my shop. I've got spray foam insulation on my walls, all the way up on my ceiling too. And if you haven't seen the video yet, you gotta go back, check it out. I did a whole process on how this insulation was put in here. And I've even done some tests on how efficient the stuff is. It's really great. And we're gonna do some more videos on that in the future. But back to my heating source right now. This over here is my main heating source. It's a wood burner stove here. And if you know anything about wood burner stoves, Fisher wood burners are awesome, man. These things have been around for such a long time. And this thing does a great job for heating. But I'm not always out here in my shop to keep that wood burner fed. Sometimes I need to come down here, work on a vehicle, and it takes a little while. If you know anything about wood burners, it takes a little bit of a while for those things to get hot and start radiating the temperature. So I have a secondary heating source that I usually use, and it's a Torpedo heater. Let me show you that. We're gonna talk about some of the negative things about that, and then we're gonna really talk about the heater that I'm gonna be getting, and it's gonna change everything about this whole entire space when it comes to heating. All right, so this is the heater that I've been using as a secondary heat source. Now, like I said before, my wood burner is an amazing heat source, but I can't always manage that fire. I live just up the street from where my shop is actually located. And there's a lot of times in the wintertime that I want to come down here and work on something really quickly, and I can't just start the fire and get it going. And even then it takes a while for all of the metal on that wood burner to get hot and actually radiate enough heat in the space. So I use this as a secondary heat source, and it does a pretty good job, but there's a lot of drawbacks to this. And a few of them are the smell. This thing emits a exhaust smell. So when you burn diesel in these things, because this is a dual fuel, you can burn diesel in this and kerosene. Kerosene does a lot better, it burns a lot cleaner, but it still smells. And in an enclosed space, these things can actually emit carbon monoxide. But on top of all that, it's really loud. And it's really difficult to carry a conversation with someone in the room. I like to make videos in my shop, and this thing is just too loud. I have to shout over it all the time. Let me turn this thing on and talk to you a little bit and try to talk over how loud this thing is. And then I want to tell you more about the heater that I'm going to go get today. Right there, obviously, it's so loud here that I have to shout over top of it to even talk to you on the camera. And if I have someone in here that I want to talk to, if I'm trying to shoot videos or work on something, listen to music, I've got to talk over this. But even sitting right here right now, I can start to smell those fumes already. These things are definitely putting off carbon monoxide. All right, let me turn this thing off so I can actually talk to you because this thing is so loud. Man, that is so much better. And the heater that I'm gonna be getting is not even close to being this loud. Okay, by now, I'm sure you already know what heater we're gonna be getting based on the thumbnail and some of that intro, but we're gonna be getting a Sunfire heater. And I've done a ton of research on these things, and they're supposed to be way quieter, emit no smell, and put off radiant heat like a wood burner. So maybe you have an area where you cannot put a wood burner in your shop. Maybe your insurance company won't even insure the building because of that, because I've heard of that before. This heater is gonna take the place of both this Torpedo heater and my wood burner if I had to. So what we're gonna do now is head out to Home Depot, and hopefully they got one in stock because they recently started carrying these Sunfire heaters. So if there's a Home Depot near you and you wanna get one of these, go check them out. That's where they're at. So let's get in the car. Let's go pick one up, bring it back. I'm going to get it unboxed. We're going to fire it up, and I'm going to test this thing right beside that torpedo heater because people are more likely going to have a torpedo heater than a wood burner. But either way, we're going to compare these things, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion on whether this is way better. I guarantee it's going to be better. I just know it. I've already seen enough research on it. So let's go do that right now. All right, guys, we just got here at Home Depot. Online says that they've got one in stock. Now there's 4 different models that they have. I'm looking for the smallest version of it because my building's not so big, but they got an 80,000 BTU, they've got 120,000 BTU, 150,000 BTU, and 160,000 BTU. So there's tons of different options that you can get with this heater, but I'm looking for the smallest one for my application. So let's go inside. Hopefully they've got it in here. All right, guys, so we located one of the Sunfire heaters, but I got to get some help to get this thing down because it is all the way up on the top shelf up here, which makes sense because it's just coming into season. They haven't even brought these things down yet, but I want to get ahead of the curve, get this heater. So let's get this thing down. We'll get it home and get it all unboxed for you.
Sorry, there's no filming.
All right, guys, we got it right here. I got in trouble for filming inside, but hey, we're outside here. I'm gonna load it in the car and get this thing home. All right, if you're wondering if it'll fit in a small car like this, we're gonna find out together. Money. You don't even need a truck to get one. Gosh, I was so worried I was not gonna be able to fit this thing in my car when I saw the thing up on the pallet. This is a really small car, so if you don't have a truck, you can still pick one of these things up. My truck's in the shop. I'm gonna sell that F-150 as soon as I can. All right, let's get this thing home. Thanks, Home Depot, for selling me one of these things. Let's get out of here. I still can't believe that this thing fit in the back of this small car. I would have been in a real pickle if it didn't. And this thing actually is pretty light. I was pleasantly surprised. All right, let's get this thing out of the box. All right, I want to show you one thing before we dig this thing out of the box. Look right here, stamped on the side. Made in USA, right in Wisconsin. I think that is awesome, being able to support an American-made product. You know this thing's gonna be built awesome. Now, everything that I have read or heard about this thing is this model in particular, the SF80, there's little to no assembly. It's small enough that they were able to put it together in the factory and just stick it inside the box. Now, I know the bigger models, still the assembly isn't that bad from what I've seen, but we'll see here in just a second. Wow, this thing is cool. What do you think, Muzzy? Do you approve? I think so. It definitely looks like it is fully assembled. It is definitely well built. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into the owner's manual here and see what I gotta do. I know you've gotta pre-prime this system because it's all kind of fuel injected. So let me read into that and then I'll show you that whole process. Okay, so I went through the instructions and I'll tell you what, they put some serious time and effort into making quality instructions. And I think that's what you get with an American-made product like this. You know, when you get some of the imported stuff, those owner's manuals can be really finicky, but this thing was awesome. And I've looked all around this thing and it is so well built. Everything looks bolted up, heavy duty metal here. And there's just a lot of really cool features about this thing that I guess I didn't even realize. So if I look at this side of the heater, there's this little wiring here. It looks like a loop. that's where you can actually put a home thermostat in here, and you can set this thing to get the temperature of your room to set at whatever temperature you want it, so that thing's just not blowing heat all the time. So there's a few steps that I've got to do here. Really easy to get this thing started. I've got to get the thing plugged in. I got to put some fuel in it. And now one thing I did read in the instruction manual is that this thing is actually designed from factory to burn diesel. So if you want to burn kerosene in it, there's a fuel adjustment that you have to make, because kerosene doesn't burn as hot as diesel. You might have to make an adjustment screw for something like that. But I really like the idea that out of the box, they have it set up for diesel, because it is much cheaper to run diesel on this. So I'm gonna put some fuel in here, and then there's a little primer button that I have to hold down to get the fuel out of the tank into the system. Get the thing primed, ready to go. Then we're gonna get it lit. I'm gonna tell you how well the heat feels on this thing. Also, real quick, where I was showing you the plug-in for the thermostat, they actually send you all the wiring for that. So you plug that plastic thing right into that port, and then the other end will wire into just your normal residential thermostat. And I'm actually going to do that, but that'll be in my next video, so you'll have to stick around for that. So it looks like they do a lot of quality control testing at the factory before they send it out to your house. Now I'm gonna get it plugged in, make sure the switch is off, and it is. I'd say we're full. Now, this is a 5-gallon can. There's a little bit left in here, so let me see what the capacity of this is really quick. Now, it says 6 gallons, so it looked like it was getting full. Let me keep putting some more in there. Yeah, I guess there is some more space in there. So 6-gallon fuel capacity here. All right, next thing I got to do is prime the pump. There's a little button right back here. And basically the direction says you hold it until you hear a change in the pump. That's basically when the fuel purges all the air out of the system. So let's press that down. It says not to hold it for more than 90 seconds. We'll see how long it takes. There's actually a little hose down there. You can kind of see fuel kind of moving through. I imagine once that's full, we'll be good. There, it just got quiet. All right, I'd say that it is primed. They definitely described it as getting in quieter, and it definitely did. Okay, everything is primed, moment of truth. All I gotta do now is flip the switch on. Let's see what happens. Sounds like a little fan just kicked on. Now, I have heard that when they first light, they might have a little puff of smoke, and I did see that. Wow, that is way quieter than that Torpedo heater. Oh my goodness, I could definitely feel the heat. This thing is a fraction of the sound that that thing is putting out. I definitely don't smell anything. Yeah, I smell nothing. I don't see any fumes. Actually, it looks pretty cool too. All right, I'm gonna let this thing burn for just a little bit and see if it raises the temperature in here. It's not super cold out yet, but I'm just out of curiosity. And then I actually wanna fire that Torpedo heater up at the same time this thing is on, and we can measure the sound difference between the two of these things, because it is significantly different for sure. All right, so we've been running here for a while. I wanted to test kind of the sound difference between the two, so I downloaded an app on my phone that measures decibels. And I know this isn't official, but at least it'll have a comparison between the two. So if I hold this thing next to this heater, and I be quiet for a second, the most I'm seeing is around 77. That's as high as I can get it. Pretty awesome. Okay, let's go check the sound on that thing after we turn this thing off. It's got the fan probably kicking on for just a little bit longer to allow the thing to cool off, and then it'll shut off. All right, let's go check the sound on the Torpedo heater. All right, we got that thing kicked on. There it goes, much louder. Let's pull this thing over here and see how much louder it is. 86 is what I'm getting here. Now, I don't know if that's a huge difference as far as measuring decibels, but I will tell you, just being in the same room with that thing on versus that, night and day difference. Plus, I can already smell the fumes coming off of that Torpedo heater, and it's only been on for just a few seconds. I'm gonna get this thing shut off so I don't smoke myself out of here. All right, so what do I think about the Sunfire SF80? Honestly, this thing has exceeded my expectations. I knew it was going to be good. I did enough research on it. This is not your budget heater. This is the Cadillac heater. If you're looking for something that is high quality, built really, really rugged, this is the heater for you. It is quiet. It actually radiates the heat, which I actually feel like it's very similar to my wood burner. And I love that. That means it's going to heat everything in the room and not just blow air around, mixing dust up in the space. It is super nice, way quieter than that Torpedo heater, and I'm super excited about having this thing in my shop. Now, I will be doing a big test on this thing when the temperature starts to drop. I've done some tests in this building before, and I've got it insulated. We're gonna be able to test this thing out, how quickly it'll actually heat this space. I'm gonna see how long a fuel tank lasts in one of these things with a thermostat on it. But guys, that's gonna wrap up the video for today. I hope this was really informative. If you're looking for a heat source, check out the links down in the description. You can pick one of these up at Home Depot. There's probably one near you. If not, you can order these things online or find a dealer near you. But I highly recommend it. And yeah, I'm super excited about it. But guys, if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. But until next time, we'll see you in the next video.